So, I've had Yvonne watch 3 Friday the 13th movies. Now, I've already talked about part 6. I did a video on part 6 on Tommy being a moron, which I said like about 10 different times in that video that he's a moron. And Megan's got some kind of mental problems there because she really doesn't seem to be put off by serial killers and stuff like that. She should be. Tommy might be a murderer, but he's kind of cute, so
that's what's important.
That's clearly what Megan cares about.
Straight.
And she has the hots for him, even though she doesn't know who he is or anything, but
it's a boy.
It's fine.
So.
And then we watched part 7, which I call Jason versus Carrie. I saw that one in the theater. When I saw it back in the 80s, I was at the front row, because you always sit front row for a horror movie, right? And right front row center. And then there were these girls in the back row that were up in the corner, and every time something remotely scary happened, they screamed. So it got to the point where, as something scary would be starting, we would all just kind of turn around. And by all, I mean like the other 6 people in the theater, because it was a Friday the 13th movie. The nice thing with that was, I got there the last night it was showing, and I got the poster on the way out, those big movie theater posters. I got one on the way out. I was so excited. And then there's Friday the 13th, Jason Takes Manhattan, which has like one scene in New York.
Yeah, that was weird.
And it's...
That's not what
I sat through. I sat through Jason Takes Manhattan because I clearly love this woman. Because the funny thing is, I've watched part 6 at least 20, 30 times. Part 7 I've watched probably 15, 20 times. Jason Takes Manhattan, I think that's the 3rd time I've ever watched it. Maybe.
That one was so weird.
Now, since she's not a horror fan...
Nope.
Were you scared at any point during any of these movies?
Nope.
Offended?
They're so ridiculous. It's so silly. There's no plot line to any of them. None of them.
There really isn't.
There's no storyline to follow or anything. Like other movies, I get really irritated not starting at the beginning or not watching the first one or... Yeah. These doesn't matter.
Well, see, here's the thing. So
there's nothing.
In the 4 years we've been together, I've had her watch the original with me, which is Jason's mother doing the killing.
Right.
We've watched part 2, which picks up from where that one left off. We've watched part 3, which is the 3D one.
Okay.
We've watched part 4, which has Crispin Glover being awesome, being Crispin Glover, but you don't remember any of that.
I remember the first one.
You don't remember the 3D one?
Well, you have to give me a little bit more information than the 3D one. They all just... It's
just all a blur. Chris tells this ridiculous story that makes it look like Jason attacked her, and then she ends up waking up in her bed and her parents... And the car, the engine, the battery died because they left the lights on while they were sitting outside talking in front of the car.
Yeah. So I have the problem of Shannon makes me watch watch all these silly... horror movies and they all get kind of blended together in my head, and so I have trouble remembering, like, even from these to the other ones, the Freddy Krueger ones,
which are
I don't know.
Come on, this is Friday the 13th.
Okay, I was gonna say, what's this one called? The Nightmare, something about a nightmare. Oh crap, I don't remember. Nightmare on Elm Street.
There you go.
There you go. Okay.
There you go.
So, I don't remember all of them, and they all just blend together, and it's just a blur of silliness. But I know that Freddy has the gloves, and he likes rebar and slugs. And...
No, Jason has that. Jason was rebar, and it was the Jason slug, and Jason Goes to Hell.
Was it? See, this is a problem. I don't remember.
Which is the movie right after Jason Takes Manhattan. So you can see how they just segue from one right into the other, right?
No, it makes no sense. And even this movie, like, he kept changing. It was so confusing.
And
he's
the makeup,
a totally normal kid.
The makeup in part 8
now
is
he's
awful.
got the hydrocephaly. Now he doesn't.
The makeup
now
in
he
part 8
looks
is
like
terrible.
He's got a mask on because his head is a completely different color than the rest of his body. Like, it changed who it was throughout the movie.
And then at the end, he's a normal kid again.
Yeah. He was a normal kid like 3 different times. Yeah. At the very beginning, and then there was the spot where the
budget's tight on part 8, so I think that's a budget issue that takes place in that makes that one not work. The mask?
He couldn't like consistently wear a mask?
Well, he didn't have the mask till part 3.
But he would have had some kind of mask on to make it look like he had the hydrocephaly.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
But there were the scenes where he was drowning and the scenes where she could see him through the porthole. He was a perfectly normal child.
See, the way that I figured that was...
he had
the way that I saw that was that her memory of what Jason looked like was inaccurate in the beginning, and then as the movie goes along, she has a better remembrance of what Jason looked like in the lake. But the problem with that theory is
back to the regular,
that at the end of the movie, when the nuclear waste turns him into a kid, he's the regular kid again.
That's
so
what
that
I mean.
completely destroys
there were 3 times that
my
he was
theory
the regular...
that she remembered him wrong at the start of the movie. Not that it made any sense whatsoever.
Him drowning wouldn't have been a memory of hers, though.
And then, like I said, the timeline. So if you figure out the timeline of Friday the 13th, there has to be between the original the drowning of Jason and the first movie. There's about 25 years.
Yeah.
So 1955 through to 1980. I think that's what it was. 25 years. Somebody will correct me in the comment section because that's what YouTube does. But it's like a 20 plus year split.
Okay.
So the idea is either he didn't drown in the lake and she thinks he did. They just never found the body. And so he's out wandering around the woods until she dies. And then that causes him to snap. And then he goes all hillbilly about it. But there's a 20 to 25 year gap there. And then part 2 to part 3 is a gap of a day. Part 3 to part 4 is a gap of a couple of days. But then part 5, he's not in it. Tommy's gotten older, so there has to be about 7 years in between Tommy hacking him and then that movie. And then there has to be another while anyways in between, because Tommy's face completely changes because they get a different actor to play him in part 6 than in part 5. So he completely changes his appearance, like Two-Face or something. And so you have to think it's, 30, I'll say ballpark 32, 33 years since he drowned. And then between part 6 and 7, well, he's at the bottom of the lake. We don't know for how long, but it's long enough that everybody's forgotten him, because people forget that. Right. Somebody offed 150 people, I'm sure it'd be easily forgotten by the local populace. Mm-hmm. So there has to be another, 5-10 years before Tina resurrects him, because she's not feeling great. She's Carrie, so she can do that. She can resurrect when she feels like it, but only sometimes. So that's 50 years. Not a girl you want to take to a funeral because things get awkward. 50 years, and then from part 7 to part 8, where the lake turns into ocean feeding water, all of a sudden it empties into the ocean. Okay. So you have to think the erosion of whatever blocked the lake off from the ocean, that'd take some time. So the fact that Remy remembers a kid in the lake doesn't make any sense at all. Unless she's 80 years of age.
At that Crystal Lake campground, all the buildings change quite a bit through
the movies. Completely different.
You've got
It's completely different.
Camp to lodging.
The first 4 movies, there's logic to how everything's set up and where everything takes place. But it feels like starting with part 6 and then through Jason X, all that goes right out the window.
Right.
That just goes completely out the window. Speaking of which, Jason X is one that she needs to see, which is Jason in space.
Which sounds just
so
silliness.
We should load up all the in space
Jason
movies.
in New York. I was totally picturing the Home Alone with Home Alone in New York.
See, you could have a Home Alone where it's Chucky that's Home Alone, and then Freddy and Jason are trying to rob him.
I was not picturing anything.
You want that movie? You know you do now. Child's Home Alone,
I wasn't picturing a boat. I was picturing Home Alone.
I don't think the movie makers were picturing a boat either. And then their budget came in and they were like, oh, we can't afford to film in New York. Ah, crap. So it's filmed in Vancouver, which you can tell from SkyTrain.
Yeah. Yeah, that was so SkyTrain. It was so funny.
Even near the motor revs up and you're like,
oh, that sounds really familiar.
That's SkyTrain. That is 100% SkyTrain.
They just added graffiti everywhere.
You can't call it Subway when it's got a SkyTrain on it, but yeah.
Yeah. The sound, I was waiting, ding, ding, ding. The next stop is Retro Town.
I was waiting for Crystal Lake. I think Crystal Lake would have been good to put over that sound.
Yeah.
The next stop is Camp Crystal Lake. But, which, of course, it's in New York, so that wouldn't have made any sense. Which you wouldn't want to get any lapse of logic. I did like
didn't make any sense.
the idea that New York's just got like random barrels of nuclear waste laying
That is
around.
really weird. And they like flush it through their storm drains? Is that daily or is it a weekly thing?
He said every night at midnight they flush it through the sewer
that's
system.
one way to clean out the storm drains. They don't get clogged with leaves or garbage.
Is there even a nuclear power plant in New York, anywhere near New York City? I know there's upstate New York.
I don't think they can. Doesn't it have to be
I don't think they can either.
Distance away from
So do they truck it in? Is this like a Chud crossover that just never happened? Because Chud, Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dwellers, that's one she needs to see. She needs to see that one.
That doesn't sound like one I need to see.
Because it's nuclear waste under New York. So maybe this was supposed to be a setup for a crossover with Chud. I'm trying to make sense where there isn't any.
Ninja Turtles.
They're definitely with the rat on the nuclear waste barrel. They were trying to set up Shredder.
Yes, that's what I said. It's Shredder.
Yeah, or not Shredder. No, Shredder's the bad guy.
No, yes.
Oh,
I'm forgetting the guy's name.
Master.
Yeah. I didn't like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yeah,
that's
gonna drive me crazy.
All right, so talk about the.
Yeah, the boat was weird. That was a weird boat. Why were they on a yacht? But it was like, it was
Splinter. Master Splinter.
I knew it started with an S.
Splinter.
It was like the TARDIS yacht.
It was huge, but it was
the TARDIS yacht.
It was a tanker.
Here's the nightclub. Yeah, and here's the huge
Here's the boiler room from
the...
Elm Street.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm pretty sure this was used in an Elm Street
weird.
movie. I was waiting for Freddy and the claw scratching.
Huge. And the galley's huge.
And then people are just like not too far away and they're screaming.
Even the washroom.
And nobody's paying any attention.
It's a really big washroom for a yacht.
And then the one guy's like, you're all doomed. And then they're all like, it's him. He's doing it. What are you basing that on?
And there's always the crazy old guy like Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think...
Is there the crazy old guy in every...
The crazy old guy they use in Part 8 is sort of a throwback to the crazy old guy from the first movie that they killed off in the second one, and they really shouldn't have. It's got a death curse. Absolutely one of the greatest lines in the history of the world, and he delivers it with this big toothless smile that's just fantastic. Yeah, there's some good characters in these movies that never get fleshed out. Usually the more interesting ones are the throwaway characters. Like the cemetery guy in Part 6, who, they dig up Jason's body, and he was great. He was, and the fact he throws the bottle and it doesn't hit the ground because Jason catches it. There's little things with Jason that are just kind of, I don't know, like Jason's supposed to be dumb. The whole idea of Jason is just supposed to be a maniacal killer. But the things he does, especially in Part 8, Kane Hodder's just kind of like, yeah, no, he's not dumb. No, that's it. He's not dumb. When he turns around and he shows his face to that group of kids there.
Oh, yeah.
And then keeps going after Remy and...
Oh, right.
And Doucheface there. And that was before he accidentally saves Rennie from whatever drug she had been injected with. I don't know. It was maybe it was nuclear waste.
Could be.
Maybe
they have that just laying around.
Maybe she was injected with nuclear waste.
Could have been from the barrel that was right there.
And in the next movie, the plan was for her to be one of the Ninja Turtles. It's gonna,
there you go.
turn her into one of the turtles, and then Jason would be Shredder, or he could grow up and be Casey Jones. He's got the mask.
There you go. Yeah,
he's got the mask.
Yeah.
So
that's it.
There's the crossover right there.
Figured it out.
It's in New York, same as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Jason's real problem is he hasn't discovered pizza. That's what it is. So, and, I'd forgotten, too, about some of the more goofy things. First off, Jason shouldn't have been calling out help when he was drowning in Part 8. That I found aggravating because Jason didn't speak. One of the things that makes Jason's drowning in the first movie when the mothers were calling it so creepy is he doesn't make a sound. He just goes under the water. And it's this
Most people
visual.
don't yell for help when they're drowning, anyways. Just saying.
No,
that's not how you drown.
But the visual of Jason, bald hydrocephalic Jason, going into water, it's haunting, and so that's the idea of it. And in this movie, he's just a kid.
Yes.
And it takes all of the, I don't know, it takes some of that mystique away from Jason, and then when he gets the waist in the face there, and he's making that weird noise. Mm-hmm. The mask comes off and he's making that weird yipping noise that he's doing, and I thought that's weird, because see, I think mentally as a fan of Friday the 13th, I have to block out part 8. I have to block out both Jason, because it's like I understand it's still Jason Voorhees and all this, but I deny its existence because it doesn't match up. It's not like in part 9 he wakes up in as a kid and he's got to go back to the camp. No. Jason Goes to Hell starts with him at the camp trying to get this FBI agent, and then they blow him up. And then you see the one bounty hunter going, I don't think so. And that's when the Jason slug thing happens.
That was
while
weird.
they're doing the autopsy on Jason.
Yeah, that part was weird.
And you know, the thing with part 8 that aggravates me is they don't even leave the music alone. Like, you got which is this great, and you go all the way back to the first movie, and it's just kill ma. And they turn it a kill ma. And it's the voice that Jason's mother hears in her head while she's doing all these things in the first movie. And in this one, they add these horrible, like, piano sound effects or keyboard sound effects, and it's just this jarring noise, and it just ruins it. Like, they kind of start that with part 7, where you could tell that Tina had her own music. Yeah. For when she did something and she made things move with her mind. But that was okay because Jason still had that noise. But in this one, let's go crazy. Yeah. Let's have a girl that looks like she belongs in a hair metal band, and we're going to kill her off, and then nobody will notice she's missing for the rest of the day.
Even though there weren't that many people on the yacht.
That was their grad class, and there's like 10 kids. And then they left 3 of them in the kitchen. Yeah. I assume they're still now. There. I assume they're still there. It's just so funny. There's 3 of them in there, and she's like, all right, I'll be right back. And then they get on the lifeboat. It's like, I left 3 in the kitchen. Yeah, there's no kitchen anymore. What? What does that mean? So, you know, everybody for themselves. Okay, so somewhere there's still 3 people floating around the ocean on a tanker going, well, they said they were coming back. They said they were, so eventually they're going to come back. I had to laugh too, though, with the fire alarm, and there's no fire. Come on, there's dead people right in front of you. Can you stop acting like this is so far outside the realm?
The whole movie, like, people have died
to a ridiculous amount,
and he's still complaining about stupid crap. And him complaining about where they landed, I might have said out loud, then get back in the boat and row somewhere else.
Yeah. Great choice of places to land.
If you're mad about being here,
look, it's Vancouver. There's no place in Vancouver that looks like New York except that part of the docks. Yeah. What, you want to get out in Stanley Park? We're in New York, and you're in Stanley Park. Like, you know,
could go to False Creek.
Could climb the seawall. Like, it's that character is so over the top evil, and there is sort of a creepiness to him too.
Such a jerk.
He is over the top.
Just complaining to people. Top. But I also find it weird how at the end of the movie, how she's all just like da.
Oh yeah, no, they're in love.
We just had a bunch of friends die.
Everybody else is dead
in front of us.
Everybody else is dead, and they're in love.
Oh,
so they have the nice '80s music,
so
and
happy
do you wanna go up to the Statue of Liberty? Yeah, okay. Since the police don't care about all those bodies back there, let's do that. It's New York, so
that was weird.
Like 20 different people, including 2 police officers, and whatever. What I couldn't figure out was Jason was there, and then she drives, and Jason's in front of the car. So when she hit Jason, because I've only seen this a couple of times, I thought that was probably a cop. She probably thinks it was Jason because she's all hopped up on toxic waste. So, but no, it was Jason. I'm like, but how can that have been Jason? Right. Because he was back there, so he walked like half a block and then stood in front of the car and waited for them. There's parts where Jason doesn't do Jason things.
He's very clever.
He's thinking ahead, and I'm not sure I understand. Like, I understood, like, when he used to set up bodies so the last person who was alive could find everything. That was fun. I always thought, you know, I always pictured Jason giggling while he was setting it up. It's gonna be great. I can't wait till she finds this. Oh, this is gonna be great. You know, I would just picture him just shaking with glee, and then he'd sit off behind a tree and watch and laugh. And then he'd like, all right, my turn. And then he'd jump through a window. I am here. But this is the Friday the 13th you didn't know you wanted to see. But yeah, as these movies go along, I'm just thinking this doesn't even begin to make sense. Like when he's in New York and there's just people everywhere, he would hide. In the original movies, Jason would hide and wait his turn, and he would wait as long as he had to. And then he'd strike. But with that many people around, he's not going to strike in front of everybody.
Right.
He's got a survival instinct, and the fact that nobody ever calls the police.
No.
It's just, well, it's New York, so it's just that's how it works in New York. All the toxic waste here, and he's probably he matches the toxic waste. They were going to do a Toxic Avenger crossover too. Then, there's so many questions I had coming out of that movie, and I remember watching it the first time. I didn't see that one in the theater. The funny thing was, I remember when Boat Jason came out in the theater, and it lasted a week. I had plans with friends of mine. I was like, okay, so we're going to go see this? Yeah. And then week 2, we're like, let's go see Jason Takes Manhattan. And then it's like, it's gone? Already? It was only in there for a week? And then we saw, like, reviews and you know, because it's not like now where you've got Rotten Tomatoes and everything. Right. So we started reading some of the reviews in the newspaper, and which you don't normally pay attention to with Friday the 13th because they all see it as crap. Right. But this was kind of like, yeah, all those other movies were crap, but this is way worse. This, and then other Friday the 13th fans that I knew were like, oh, did you see it? And I was like, no. And they're like, oh, you don't want to see it. It's terrible. I'm like, well, they're all terrible.
Yes.
They're like, nah, this is
level.
This is bad, terrible. And it's the weird thing too is that in Boat Jason, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, which is not New York, it's the most 80s of all the movies. And yet all of them are in the 80s. But this 80s. One was like way over the top 80s.
Super 80s.
This was, we're going Miami Vice with this one. We're going to get...
Everybody's hair is either feathered and big or permed.
The glow-in-the-dark clothes.
The
vest that Remy's wearing at the start.
Suspenders. The big high-waisted pleated pants.
The guy that was a cross between Crispin Glover and Christian Slater. The film geek. And I was like, okay, so you can't get Crispin Glover again because he died in the 4th movie. So I guess you'll get this guy who's kind of like a Christian Slater, Crispin Glover wannabe. And then there was that weird, like, I guess he thought that the blonde was good looking, but that storyline didn't go anywhere. There wasn't a storyline that went anywhere.
Yeah,
all the characters are as two-dimensional as possible, if not one.
Yeah.
Like the Rockstar girl. You just find out she likes playing a guitar. And it's not like she's making her own music. She's just playing a ghetto blaster and singing along with it.
Yeah.
Sorry, boombox. But back then it's a ghetto blaster. And she's just playing along with it. And then the part that drove me nuts is she's playing the guitar. She's even looking up. And I thought she'd have to see Jason out of the periphery of her vision. Oh, did she? Nope.
It's
and
really
then for no
dark
reason
in that
she turns
huge
around.
Boiler area. Not sure.
For no reason she turns around and sees him. And then she puts her weapon down, which is the guitar, and tries to run away, and then he's in front of her, because sure he is. Sure he is. Yeah, sure he is. He's just walking, and then he's in front of you.
People die really easy in these movies.
It is.
They like...
It's something I didn't think about when I was a kid, but yeah.
How cars in all these movies, they all explode when they get bumped into.
Yeah.
Explode.
They're covered in lighter fluid.
Burst into flames.
Probably shouldn't got that lighter fluid paint, should we, honey?
What is she playing now? These people, they like get hit and they pop. Yeah. They're like water balloon people. Yeah. To make the biggest splash.
And then the splatter isn't even from the right angle in a couple spots.
No.
I was like, there's no way that there'd be splatter.
These people, they splatter if they hit a wall
or even going under a boat, and then there's splat, and you've got, and that was in the Babysitter. So that's something that happens in movies now that happened in movies then, where there's just the splatter going on. You're like, that doesn't even make sense.
What in the world?
That's on the wrong angle. And you'd think Jason would be better at geometry.
In one of the ones from last night, one of the people popped.
Yeah.
Remember?
It wasn't it the girl?
I don't remember which one it was, but it was
with the guitar.
Wait, why?
Where he just bopped her with the guitar and then.
Maybe. She popped.
And then of course there's the boxer guy who, for no reason, Jason just lets him box him as much as possible.
What in the world?
Like Jason just stands there and lets him punch him over and over and over again. It's like, oh, come on, take your best shot. I'm thinking, Jason would. And I remember seeing that the first time and thinking, this is really stupid. I remember thinking, old Jason would just. There wouldn't be, you get to punch me a million times and then I get my shot. There would just be, okay, done. But now it's like he wants to make you think you're doing well. And then your head
really fit in there.
Your head falls off and goes into a dumpster that closes the lid.
That was just silliness. It was like a cartoon. You punch him once and his head just flies off and down the thing and into the garbage and shut like a cartoon.
It's funny because I remember
scratchy type cartoon.
I remember when I watched this when I was a teenager and thinking some of this was dumb, and watching it now, it's way worse than I remember it. It is so much worse than I remember it, and the fact that I still see Jason as being the best of the three between Michael, Freddy, and Jason is a miracle, because these movies,
they're all dumb, have
nothing to add to his character. If there is a character with Jason. What are you into now? No,
she's just being silly today.
She doesn't fit in that box even.
She wants in this box, and I want in this box.
I got you a
one in all the boxes.
Up here and sit down.
She's trying to fit in all the boxes she doesn't fit in.
Sit down. Sit down there. Scratch. And sit right there. Stay there. Now I'm getting dirty looks. But anyways, yeah, I don't know what else to add to this. If you haven't seen these movies, I recommend them because they kind of teach you what not to do when you're making a horror movie.
Gosh, and all the stupid people, all these horror movies, they're so...
Jason's on the boat. I'd better climb this.
I'm gonna go up this ladder that goes nowhere. Climb up a ladder to a flag.
Well, that works with bears,
was the plan? Right? I even said that as he's climbing up. Where are you going? What is the plan? And all of a sudden, Jason's up there with you. Sure, he was down there, and now he's
planning an epic wrestling move.
What in the world? And that happened
epic
twice.
Wrestling move.
Where somebody, I'm gonna climb this ladder that goes nowhere.
It was great.
People are silly.
Yeah.
There's a killer. Let's drop the anchor. What? No, shouldn't you be trying to get out of there? Not. Yeah. Let's stick around.
He said we should drop the anchor in a storm.
No, that's not. Don't do it.
We know people are getting bumped off. Why are we? What? We can't send an SOS now because the funny thing is he sends an SOS to the Coast Guard, right? The Coast Guard gets the message and then Jason pulls the plug. The Coast Guard would still go out and find out what's going on.
Yep.
It's not like the Coast Guard go, oh, there was an SOS, but signal died, so I guess it's nothing. Well, let's get back to drinking. I don't think that's how the Coast Guard works. I think they would have showed up. Because they would know what the name of the boat was. They'd have some kind of an idea of what their itinerary was. And the fact that it's a giant tanker or a small yacht, depending on the scene. It
was the TARDIS yacht.
The boat seemed to change sizes according to the scene and the way they were shooting it.
There was a huge galley for that little yacht.
for a grad class. Yeah. For a grad class.
It's the TARDIS yacht.
It's a Vegas yacht. It's got like a whole casino just inside of it.
Oh, yeah.
It's the Aria of yachts. It's this giant yacht.
All these rooms. That was the biggest washroom inside of a yacht I've ever seen.
See, and that's the funny thing is that, I mean...
sauna.
We're going over 6, 7, and 8. And 8 was easily the worst. And yet 8's the one that's got the most talking points.
Because it's so weird. You're watching it. Wait. What?
It is a complete departure from everything else in the series.
Why is that?
It makes no sense.
I don't understand.
Makes no sense whatsoever.
It's a magical yacht.
There's so many things that don't make sense.
On it.
Like for instance, when they row and they end up in Vancouver, New York, and Jason's just there. So was he underneath their boat while they're rowing?
He was hanging onto the boat. Just wait until they got there.
Is there a tow rope that
Just
they didn't
hang
see?
on. I'll let them do all the work. I don't want to do all this swimming. Screw
You
that.
could think he could have rowed a little
Hang
faster.
on. Then when he gets there, then he hops out. It took him a moment to get out from under the boat. That's why they didn't know he was there right away. Took a moment.
He waited till they tied off and they got out.
He might have had a separate rope and just tied his wrist on so he could take a nap or whatever during that row.
Yeah. And then as soon as they get into New York, they're robbed. That's automatic. Welcome to New York. You're robbed.
That's what happens.
It's Homer Simpson versus New York all over again.
And remember me pointing out, they kept being in these alleys. There was nobody anywhere.
No, because it's Vancouver.
There were no people.
No, it's Vancouver.
Going through all these, there's no people.
And they had the trash fires and the nuclear waste.
Yeah.
And that's
a lot of nuclear
waste. Lot of radioactive waste just hanging around.
So weird.
And it's just
But
there.
that's New York. I've heard New York's totally like that.
It is ever since the Chuds.
It's crime and
nuclear
waste.
Ever since they're bad with Chuds there.
Yeah.
They used to have that on the sign, but they found it was hurting tourism. Welcome to New York. We're bad with Chuds. Watch your feet. And they just had to knock that off. So I think I have Chud. I think I have the movie Chud somewhere. That would actually be a good segue to watch
surprised.
Chud. You don't sound happy about it. You're supposed to go, that would be great. That sounds like such a good movie. We really need to watch that together. That sounds like a fun movie.
Not what I was thinking.
I'm pretty sure that's what you were thinking.
It's really not.
So we highly recommend the Friday the 13th movies.
No, we don't.
Like if you had to grade them out of 10.
They're horrible. Watch something else.
If you had to grade them out of 10.
Maybe something with a plot.
But the one with rebar, as bad as that was.
That was so ridiculous.
It was better than that, though.
That's rebar in my kitchen.
It was better than that, though, wasn't it?
That one was just so confusing. That person popped. Why is he killing that person in the sauna? He's leaving the door open.
Yeah.
The guy's barely making any sound, and then he leaves the door open again. If this is this yacht that they kept showing from the outside, why is they're on a senior little trip? Why is the guy in the sauna by himself, anyways?
Yeah.
That's weird. That's when you're like hanging out with your friends.
Yeah.
But he's in the sauna by himself.
I like too that there's the couple at the start of the movie.
Why is the girl taking a shower?
The couple at the start of the movie.
They've only been in the boat for like an hour.
Right. The couple at the start of the movie, they're the first victims. So at the start, as they're getting ready to go on this cruise from Crystal Lake to New York, because that makes sense because it's a lake, they realize this couple's missing and they go, no, whatever. And they just leave. And I thought, that's not how a grad cruise works.
No.
You don't go, oh, they're 3 minutes late.
Missed the boat.
Oh, well. And that's it.
Yeah, that's so them.
Their boat's right there. But, it's fine. Is that their boat? Shut up. Like, I don't... It just seems odd, is all. I would not like to have friends that 3 minutes after I'm supposed to be there just go, well, Shannon's not coming. Well, screw him. Mm-hmm. And then they're gone. Because, that tanker yacht had to be expensive. That's a lot of money for graduating class of 10 people.
Yeah,
so,
that TARDIS yacht.
And 2 teachers who are there to be horrible chaperones.
Yeah,
they were
really
terrible
were.
at it. They're
Kind
terrible.
of chaperones let their students be naked in the sauna, naked in the showers.
There's drugs going on, and they just
right?
there's no chaperoning of any kind. I understand it was the 80s. I do. I understand it's the 80s, and there was a lot of stuff going on in the 80s, but still, there had to be a limit, and chaperones shouldn't be completely useless.
But when you're in TARDIS yacht, it does make it a little bit tricky.
I just couldn't believe that, like, the engines blowing up, and all the whole part of the ship is blowing up, and there's nothing on
burned really well.
And they don't even seem to notice.
No.
Like, half the ship's exploding, and they're sort of like...
That's why Jason was kind enough to push the fire alarm, so they would know.
I still don't understand why Jason pushed the fire alarm.
So they would know that all the metal was on fire.
He's doing his civic responsibility.
It was
there
very
seems
nice.
to be a lot of fire here. I feel somewhat responsible. I should alert them to the presence of the fire.
It was weird. The metal caught on fire after the guy burst into flames.
Which means Jason can read.
His crotch burst into flames.
Which means Jason can read. And Jason knew what this sign said. And I'm not sure when Jason would have learned that living in the woods all by himself growing up.
Right.
Or at the bottom of the lake. I'm not sure where he would have learned how to read that it was fire or what it did or any of that. But he knew. Because of course he did. So, of course he did. All right. So Yvonne gives them all a 10 out of 10.
It's an awful movie.
Personally, I part 6... Tommy's a moron. He is responsible for all this death that happens in every movie after. If it wasn't for him bringing Jason back to life.
After those, I should make you watch, like, State Fair.
Well, we've got that whole channel full of Christmas movies now. So, all the ones that are filmed locally. So,
yeah, there's like 90 more Hallmark Christmas movies this year.
Yeah.
Most of them are filmed here. I've seen so many Christmas movies being filmed the past couple months.
But...
Down by Five Corners is constantly covered in fake snow and lights, and sometimes they put up the big nutcracker. They share Christmas decorations.
But I like Jason versus Carrie too. I like part 7. That was my favorite when I was a kid. And then part 8 is well, it's awful. But it's so awful you have to discuss it, which we have. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support, and hope everybody's having a nice quarantine-oween. Whole month of Halloween.
Happy Thanksgiving.
You've got your Beetlejuice shirt on.
This is a Beetlejuice shirt.
So
fun.
Yeah, there you go. Anyways, hit like and subscribe if you were a fan of such movies. Yes, Beetlejuice is a fun movie.
Yeah.
He should have been in this. He could have straightened up New York. He has straightened New York right up.
And happy Thanksgiving.
Sandworm, take care of Jason.
Thanksgiving.
Get it done. Tomorrow. Yeah, it's Turkey Day tomorrow in Canada, so enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Turkey.
All right.
That's great.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And again, happy upcoming Halloween and happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. And we'll do this again soon.
I hope we don't have to watch these again soon.
Oh, you'll be surprised. But you see, you forget, so it'll be like seeing it for the first time because you just forget.
We could watch.
I could put part 6 on right now and you'd forget.
3 of them. We could do like Roger and Hammerstein. 3 movies.
Your movies are way longer than mine.
Fair.
These are an hour and 20 minutes.
Oklahoma.
These are an hour and 20 minutes. They were over fast.
Pacific.
These are over fast.
You probably haven't seen any of those, have you?
No. I'm too busy watching these, so I wouldn't be watching these because I'm busy watching this. I don't have time for that. All right.
Carousel. No, State Fair. Carousel.
Okay.
And Oklahoma.
Jeez, no. Anyways, thanks guys so much.
Something else too.
Thanks guys so much for watching, and we'll do this again soon.